All right. This is okay. What are we talking about today?
This is Shark Tank Day.
This is the episode we've all been waiting for.
This is definitely what people want to hear. They want to know about Shark Tank.
Nice.
It's been on for a few seasons now.
Yep.
How many seasons? 13?
Yeah,
No,
there's
16?
I think we were 13.
Oh, shoot.
Or no.
You guys are 6.
Wow. We're
Season 6.
Sorry.
And I think
It was probably episode 13. That's probably what I was thinking.
That's probably right.
Yeah.
It's a 1 a year season though, right?
I think so. It's not like Bachelor
Some of
where
those where it's like 2-3
they
times
do
a
every
year.
like quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shark Tank is popular and people love hearing about the stories. I used to watch it all the time. Don't watch it as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of cool products that come up on it.
We love Shark Tank. I remember, so I was living in Vegas when we were kind of starting this out, and I had a job, and I remember coming home at night and watching Shark Tank and just wanting to be on it so bad. And I think I told last episode it was in Pittsburgh, so even before. Oh no, that was after
You
then.
were probably watching like season 3.
Yeah,
2
it
or
was
3.
early.
Yeah.
Because it was later where I actually got a note from them and I missed it. Talked about that last episode.
Yeah.
But for me, I always wanted to be in Shark Tank. Partially, Dallin's from Southern California. I'm from Southern California. You grow up wanting to be on TV, wanting to be a movie star. So maybe there's a little bit of that there. But I
definitely.
always wanted to be on Shark Tank.
And I felt like I didn't know what Shark Tank was until you told me.
That could be true. And it was amazing. So,
I mean, I watched it all the time, so
yeah.
it was just a fun show to watch.
Yeah.
So now hearing about now to hear from you guys how it was behind the scenes is going to be really interesting too, because you see it on TV and you think, oh, like they're just there for 10 minutes and they're out of there.
Yeah.
Well, we'll try and hit it all. We haven't really read our journals or anything, and we filmed in 2014.
Wow.
That's true. So we started shipping, you said
Yeah, that would have been November 2013.
Right.
That was kind of like Kickstarter deliveries, and I think we'd started turning on some holiday sales. Website was live.
Okay. But you had already missed that first email.
So that first email would have been like end 2012, early 2013. Okay. I see an email on my Facebook other that was like, hey, I'm a producer from Shark Tank, saw your Kickstarter, wanted to chat. And I remember my heart sank because it was 6 months after that email had hit. Cause
Yeah.
it was in one of the inboxes you don't see unless you click it. Mm-hmm. I remember my heart sinking. And I feel like I've been dramatic on this podcast. Like I'm the only one so far that has been like, this is going to end the business. But that was one of those moments where it was like, you don't think like, oh, I'll just reach out. Yeah. I mean, of course I emailed back, but you're like, that was it. That was our chance and it's gone. But maybe I was just very dramatic.
Well, I mean, looking back, it turned out to be better for us that we didn't go on that
too early.
season.
Way too early.
Because we didn't have any sales or even a product yet. So we probably would have been destroyed on the show if we went on.
That was, what season was that again?
That probably would have been season 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe even one before it.
Yeah, maybe season 4.
So before we get in the Shark Tank experience, it's
because we didn't have any sales yet. That's the point.
Nothing then, and not even product. So both of those would have been bad.
Because that was they reached out before we had product, before it landed, before I unloaded the container by myself into the insurance basement, right? So
floor to ceiling. But so now we have a product.
Yep.
So before the Shark Tank, we'll talk about them reaching out, talk the whole thing. Probably the biggest land that was pivotal to Shark Tank was Staples.
That's true.
So we started having some web sales. I don't remember. Maybe we should have looked it up. I don't remember how Staples reached out, but something happened where we started building a relationship with them.
Yep.
Got an end cap even, right?
Yep. We can flash a picture of that. I have one of those.
Yeah. So I think it may have been you and your dad again buy it or something.
Yeah, there we go.
But we didn't even know what an end cap was. And again, how much it cost.
Right.
But didn't we build
No,
one?
I didn't know what
worked
an
with
end
their
cap
brand
was. They're
team.
like, we want to do an end cap. I was like, that sounds good.
It was our first business trip.
Mm-hmm.
We flew out to Boston, tried to build this relationship, worked with their brand team to make basically a display.
Yeah.
End cap meaning maybe at the end of an aisle is where it was, right?
Yep.
and started moving product with Staples. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was that was like our first big retailer.
Big retail. And for the Sharks,
we mentioned that on Shark Tank, and that was actually a big deal.
That was a big deal. So it was
a big deal for us, but also a big deal
yes,
money wise.
Yeah.
We had a shipment arrive in LA.
That's right.
Stuck at the port.
That's true.
So
it was stuck.
This is one of my, Wes and I are like, the old dads that tell the same stories over and over. This is a story that comes up 2-3 times a year, and our employees roll their eyes. But we go down to the port because it's stuck, and we go to our freight forwarder.
Freight forwarder's like,
Wilson.
don't come. He's like, don't come. You won't be able to get it.
You're not going to get it. So we show up. We're like, we need this product. So it had come directly for Staples because it was packaged in the displays and in these little packs. So
Didn't we rent a U-Haul?
Yes, we ended up renting a U-Haul. So we go to Wilson and we say, we need this product out of the port. And he says, there's nothing we can do about it. And I said, I'm going to the port. And I hope we aren't being, digitally listened to here, but he told me, do not go. The mafia runs the port. That's what he told me.
Wow.
So I go.
But not anymore.
Not anymore. It's all, I'm sure it's all.
Yeah, it was just a one and done deal.
It's all buttoned up.
Yeah.
So we go. I don't remember. I do remember showing up with a U-Haul, big old U-Haul. I don't remember having success there.
Okay. Right.
So that still took some time. But eventually we get it out, fill up a U-Haul. And this is where it gets interesting, maybe boring for people who don't know. But when you deliver to a major retailer, there's this whole process, right? Paperwork. You have to schedule the drop off. You need the right paperwork. And
you have to show up at the right time.
At the right time. I remember driving this huge U-Haul from Los Angeles to somewhere on the way back to Utah. I was on the way. It worked out.
Yeah.
And showing up to the warehouse, like, hey, I got a load of phone soaps for Staples. They're like, we can't let you in. And it was like the middle of the night. And I wonder if I have any pictures from that, because eventually they let me in. That was one of those many moments.
Bad for you. They're like, this guy, we got a guy out here. He's not a truck driver. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's in a U-Haul, but he has a bunch of products. So what should we do? Probably
I eventually got a tour of the distribution center. Someone showed me around. Eventually dropped it off.
You sweet talk someone.
Well, fun story and important for Shark Tank. Because without that deal, maybe wouldn't have gotten a deal there.
That's true. That was one of the turning points, I think, that they were interested in when we said, like, have you had any sales? We're like, yeah we had some online. Also, Staples were like, oh, okay, these guys are more legit than we think.
And while we're talking about that, there is this flow, which now we're kind of getting ahead, but just so I don't forget about it. Mm-hmm. They're like, okay, if you're in the tank and they ask about a major retailer, you first have to say major retailer, give it a break. They're going to ask who, then you can answer. Because then between shooting and going live on air, they'll get permission to actually say that name. So that's just kind of a funny side note.
I forgot
we have a major retailer who just placed a PO. Okay, who? Staples! And then I don't, I think it made it. They must have gotten permission.
And it builds up suspense. So.
Builds up suspense. That's true. So rewind, somewhere between all this experience and starting sales, they actually reach out again.
Yep. Yeah,
Shark
Tank. I guess, in that way we were cherry picked. So I think now you have to go to auditions and they've well, they didn't. They basically said, you guys should apply.
You should apply. We still had to go through hoops, maybe just one less.
Yeah.
But we still had to, the first step I think was make a video.
Yep.
So post that one up. That's a good one.
Yeah. Should we show that video?
Oh,
it's not very.
It's
not a professional video.
It's in the basement.
It's in the basement. Yeah.
We dance.
We dance. There is a strobe light, I think.
There's some strobe lights, disco, and a bunch of product behind us.
So if anyone's wanting to know how one company's audition video got them on Shark Tank, here's an example. Maybe
if we don't show it in this video, we're going to link it so that people can see it.
Well, okay, that means you got to post it on YouTube. Whoops.
That's true.
That might be dangerous.
Okay, maybe we won't.
Wow. That was fun, though. So we did some dancing. Talked about a product.
Yeah.
Submitted.
And
from there, that would have been, let's just say, now I'm just ballparking, but that would have been January, February, March, somewhere early 2014.
That's right. So we had been actually selling for just a few months.
Just a few months. In fact, I'm surprised we even had Staples then, but we did.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. So
that's right.
They submit it. We get past whatever first layer it is.
Yep.
And we start having what? Weekly calls?
We have weekly calls where they prep us, like what to say, what not to say. Like like you mentioned this, like don't mention staples or like unless they ask or do that pause thing. So we got coached basically.
And it was with one of the producers.
Yep.
And they'd be upfront. They'd be like, "Hey, look, we're not business people. Some of them might be now, but at least the one we're working with.
Yeah.
Love him. It's great. He was like, I'm not necessarily in business, but I know how TV works, so I'm going to pitch you from that angle. But I've also been doing this for a long time, so I know the types of questions they ask too. So he would field us questions. He helped us write our pitch kind of together.
Yep.
And we were just coached for months, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. So the pitch, I mean, two parts basically. We had to know all the answers to all the business questions they would ask, obviously. And we actually knew those before because we had kind of been familiar with that because we were raising money. And so they asked similar kinds of questions, obviously, because it's the same kind of deal. But then more specifically, questions about how to answer those questions on TV. And so that was really helpful. And then they scheduled an air date. Or not an air date, a film date. Film dates.
Yeah, and I think we even had to film our pitch.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
There were a few approvals before we even got to that.
Yeah, we had to make our pitch like the 1 minute pitch so in Shark Tank when you walk out and you give your little spiel, that's the pitch. So we had to perfect that. We had to record that, send that in. They're like, okay, this is good. They're not too boring.
Multiple steps along the way.
We got more boring over the years, but
much more boring.
I really had to juice it up myself for that.
You used to show a picture of us. We were very young looking too.
Strapping young men.
But yeah, so many steps and always, hey, no guarantee, no guarantee, no guarantee. But then eventually, we get the phone call, which is like, yeah, you're coming out.
Yeah.
But even then, no guarantee, no guarantee.
Right. Yeah. Okay, you're coming out to Los Angeles. Here's your ticket.
Don't tell anybody about it.
Don't tell anyone about it. We're going to put you in this hotel for a week. And you just basically have to stay in this hotel and wait until we say it's your turn.
Yeah.
And by the way, you might stay in the hotel the whole week and not get an air date.
Yeah.
And so we said, okay, well, if we don't, then when we come back, they're like, no, you just don't get one.
There's a chance.
Yeah.
So some people probably were in a hotel for a week and never got a chance to be on Shark Tank.
Yeah. And then along that way, you get the call in to now pitch it in front of the executives, so the executive producers.
Right.
And so that now they bring you in, still kind of in the hotel, but they're like, okay, this isn't the Sharks, but you've made it now to this stage. Like flying out, to your point, Wes, is just step one. You still might not even see them.
That's true.
And so step two is then pitching in front of the executives. So now, you're not actually, you might be in the same building, but you're not even on set yet.
No, but you're on a stage.
But you're still kind of in one of those big warehouses.
Yeah.
And it still is intimidating because you're pitching to the the main guys and gals, right? The main people, main executives, and you're kind of, I think everyone's there kind of watching, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Or maybe not everyone, but a few at a time, because it's also very private.
Yeah.
You're not really you're not supposed to talk to each other, huh?
That's true.
So I don't know why I remember other people in the room, but you weren't supposed to know the other brands. And
you weren't supposed to know what they're. In fact, they had these trailers, like makeup trailers, basically, and
famous people's trailers.
Famous trailers for famous people, and where they'd have you wait before you would go into the building. And so, to know which trailer you were on, they just had a piece of paper, and they would have like not random, but like kind of
like
really
names.
Vague code names.
Yeah.
So I think ours was just phone or
it was like phone.
Phone or something.
That was a cool moment, though. Now each step you start to feel a little more legit.
Yeah.
Once you get your trailer, that's when you know.
But you'd walk by other
leagues.
people's trailers, and it would just be other random words that who worked there would know like where to find you. But they said they did that because they didn't want like the sharks walking by it and seeing all the companies that were about to come in and like Googling them before.
That's right.
So they wanted it to be a surprise for the sharks
it is.
too.
That's one of the main questions. It really is a surprise to the sharks. At least the year we went, they don't know who you are. They don't know anything about you. So we pitch the executives, right? And they send you back to your hotel, and they say, "Great, you may or may not get a phone call to meet the sharks." And I don't know, a day or two passes, and we do get the call. So now you go back to the trailer, And it's the day. It's the day of. That was a wild feeling.
And so do you think, like, what do you think they're looking for in that interview process? Do you think they were just looking for an interesting product, or did you guys have to be interesting to them as well, or combination of both?
This is just me guessing, but I would think that it was one that you were able to just like deliver the pitch without like being like, oops, sorry, let me start over, stuff like that, right? Because that wouldn't go over well. Mm-hmm. And two, like making sure that you weren't like so boring, you know?
Yeah.
I think that if you're like super boring on like the actual pitch to the Sharks, that they probably just like, okay, we're not going to use that because it's too boring. We can't make it interesting enough for TV.
Yeah.
But I think that was probably, they probably gatekeep that a little bit, which is like, okay, they've got a cool product and like they gave their pitch, but like I fell asleep halfway through it or whatever, you know?
And it could be the coolest product in the world. But
oh, yeah. No, it's TV. I think ultimately it's TV, right? It has to be a decent enough product, but ultimately it's TV.
Yeah. Some of the things to get through, it's definitely for TV.
Yeah, it's for entertainment. So, probably a terrible product with a great pitch. The infamous one is the guy trying to break open the door that never opens. So, anyways, there's some good ones. So, so you go back to the same place. Again, can't tell anyone where you're at, and you're waiting in your trailer. And this time, you're really nervous. You know?
Yeah, because you're going to go there.
Yeah,
and meet them.
Yeah.
Now it might not air. They told you that.
Yeah, they tell you that every time.
They're like, we're going to film this, but if it doesn't work out, you know, it might not air. So, I'm like, okay,
got it.
Yeah. So eventually you get the call in, and I remember before ours, oh man, you're just so nervous. It's so wild because you've never like officially been in front of the Sharks. I think at this point, maybe that day they kind of let you maybe walk on the set. I'm like, maybe it's like been so long, I shouldn't make stuff up. But I'm pretty sure at this point maybe we've at least seen it, but we haven't been live. We haven't met the Sharks. We haven't been in front of the lighting and the cameras, anything like that.
Yeah, they just show you the set, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody's in there, but they just kind of show it.
And lights are on. It's a very different experience again. So before we get the call to go in, we're in the green room. We're in the back, kind of getting mic'd up. And they're like, oh, we got to actually wait. You guys aren't going there. We're filming a special guest, and he's going to be on the intro. And we didn't know who it was. Right. But we find out later that's Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel did, I don't remember. He was selling some joke of a thing, and it was used on an episode, maybe the intro to the season or something.
Right. So that was good for us, I think, because actually I think they were in a pretty good mood.
They were in a good mood. That's a good point.
Following a comedian will always be a good idea if you're going to pitch your business.
Yeah.
I think I remember seeing that skit.
I think they had like
I don't remember what it was about,
or something.
But yeah.
We should look that up. So
the other thing I remember them saying is like when they showed us the set was like, here's where you're going to stand.
Oh yeah.
Like there's marks on the ground. And then they said, you're going to walk through. So practice walking through.
Yeah.
You're going to walk through. You're going to stand on this mark. And then you're just going to look at the Sharks for several minutes. Mm-hmm. No speaking. And then they're like, because we need to bring this camera around and do the pan shots. So in the very beginning, you know, when they pan around, they actually take like a couple minutes doing that. And you're just kind of, you're seeing each other for the first time, and you know you're being judged pretty hard.
Yeah. So they bring us out and they sit you in front of the door, right?
Yeah. And
that is just such a weird experience. And the door's open, and it's like go. It's like you're going to.
Yeah.
Can I say? I won't say that. That's not a good time for that to say. But they're like go, right? And they got a steady cam.
And then you walk.
And you're walking down the aisle.
You're like, am I walking? Am I doing a good walk?
Did they tell you not to look at the camera, or are you allowed to?
Oh, I have no idea.
It was all black, so you couldn't see the camera. I did not see a single camera.
Got it. Yeah, it's so overwhelming and so quick. It's all happening so fast. So then we hit the cue, like you said.
Yeah, we started doing the walk, but there was no music.
Oh, that's true. There's no in your head. Yeah. You're like bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
Bum, bum.
It was playing in my head, but out loud like, it wasn't there. Like, it was just silence.
You're quivering. So you get to the X.
Yeah.
And you already said that feels like forever.
Yeah.
And I remember the quiver there. You're smiling, like, you're starting to shake.
Well, yeah, because you don't, even people that smile a lot, like try holding a smile for like 2 minutes. No one does that, like not even for a picture. And so, but we were trying to do it because I didn't want to like look grumpy or sad while they're staring at us.
Yeah.
Smile. But like my cheeks started to quiver, and I was like, oh my goodness! And why is the camera's passing along?
Yes.
And I was like, I'm gonna look like an idiot.
Yes.
with my like face quivering while they're doing the shot. And I didn't see that happen though. In the cut, but
they don't. Their goal is to not edit you to look amazing. But they at least made us look fine during that.
Yeah, that's true.
So you see the sharks for the first time, and that is an experience. I mean, Dallin always runs into famous people. You meet people all the time.
I've seen them before.
I think you know what to look for. But that's a weird moment. Seeing someone that you've watched for years on TV, all of a sudden sitting lit up in a chair, just right there. And again, there's a minute or two where you're just looking at them, and they're just looking at you. You don't even say hi first, right?
No music. And no music,
and
too.
no music.
Just silence.
It's like when you're watching those clips of like sitcoms without the laugh track. It's just, it's cringy. Yeah.
Cringy, yeah. Cringy is the right word. Nowadays, we would call that cringy.
Yeah.
So, and then someone in the background yells, go. All right, go.
Yep.
So you take a big breath and you start the pitch. I wonder if we could remember. We should have looked up and done it.
Oh, we should have. I don't remember.
I remember one of the most infamous lines.
We should have just watched it here.
We should have watched it here.
Yeah.
Here, we'll play it right now.
Can you pull that up?
Yeah, there you go. And there it was. Wow, making me sweat. So when I would go on QVC with Lori, and they'd play it, and maybe we'll talk about that after. But that was always weird when they come off. Watching that again with Lori is embarrassing. So one of the lines I remember was, "Have you ever?" It was a fancy word. I see. I should have looked it up.
Commode.
Yes. Have you ever communicated from the commode or something? And the producer wanted us to say that, and I was like, I don't even know what a commode is.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a toilet.
But they were older than us, and some of them
they laughed at that.
They liked that.
They laughed at commode. So we had like pictures up, which you just saw, of like our Petri dishes, do our pitch. That's the line I remember. Any lines stick out to you?
No, toilet texting.
Yeah, toilet texting. One of us squatted.
You squatted.
Okay. Makes sense. And they're kind of giggling at the toilet stuff, which is how we launched the business.
Yeah.
No one cared about phones back then, so we did a lot of, your phone's dirtier than a toilet seat, which is true, and that's nasty.
Yeah.
Anyways. So a lot of kind of humor in our pitch.
There's a lot of things worse than toilet seats.
Yeah, I've seen more humorous pitches than the ones we did, but I thought ours was pretty humorous.
Yes, it was very highbrow humor.
Yeah,
yeah. I thought through the whole pitch, I thought I was going to pass out.
Yeah, it probably looks like it too.
Yeah, I think that was like, because you're standing there and the anticipation builds and the nervousness builds. Then you have to give the speech, and I'm like, I hope I remember to say everything,
Yes.
Because that part's memorized,
practiced
right?
that over and over and over, yeah.
And the worst thing would be to forget it, because then you wouldn't air. And then
or you would air. You never know.
Yeah.
I think it's real funny.
So there's no like, start from the beginning.
No.
It's all one take.
No, and that's probably intentional too.
The whole thing is one take. I mean, they cut it up, obviously.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was one take. But I remember just like getting to the end of the pitch and being like, I didn't pass out. And that was like a victory.
Yes.
But still being so nervous.
So you finish and you do feel better. You have this moment of like, we did it. But then the questions come.
Yep.
So, I think we started handing out product. And I think immediately they go straight to, I'm just going to use alcohol wipes.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, why do I need this?
It started, I mean, funny enough, like we're just giving our pitch. It took like a minute, and as nervous as I've ever been. But then as soon as like the questions started coming, like then I started to feel like actually not nervous at all. Like it felt like normal. Mm-hmm. Like we're having a conversation with them now.
Yeah.
Not that it didn't. To your point, it started off badly.
And I think probably intentionally.
Yeah, maybe so.
No one told us any secrets like that, but you kind of feel like they're building this drama intentionally, maybe hitting the holes first.
Well, yeah,
it sure felt
true.
like we were not going to get a deal.
No, they didn't like it. They didn't like the idea. They're like, why would I do this? I would just use wipes. Now, these were all things that we've tossed around to ourselves. Like when we were starting the business, like why are we doing this? Why is this better, right? And so we gave our answers of. We talked about what chemical cleaners do to your phone and why that's bad. At the time, it was also
oleophobic coating.
Yeah,
that's our big go-to.
Ruins the oleophobic coating. They didn't care about that answer.
Mark Cuban, I think I remember him saying, like, that's a horrible reason or whatever.
Mark came pretty hard.
Yeah,
and he eventually gave us a deal. We'll get into that, but he came
Yeah.
He didn't like us. No, he didn't like our pitch.
Yeah.
Or he didn't like our product.
Yeah.
Nah, he liked her. He eventually gave us a deal.
Yeah.
He was building drama.
Yeah. Well, he probably just didn't like the explanation as to why you wouldn't do something else instead of this. But.
So I'm trying to think, just for, the experienced people listening, like, I'm trying to think of the main questions. That was definitely one of them. Why not wipes? Why do we care? Why does it matter for you?
Yeah.
Guess you could just watch it.
There we go. That was great.
Wow, what a piece.
No, the thing that kind of the flow of the whole, what people don't realize is that we were in there for like an hour and a half. Like there was a lot of content that was filmed, and they cut it down to like 5 minutes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the most interesting thing was to Dan's comment, like of the building of the drama. A lot of times they would say like, really shocking things, and we'd kind of be like that's the worst idea I've ever heard, and we kind of be like,
get a reaction.
It would make you make a face, basically.
Yeah.
We at one point I remember very specifically where I got truly shocked, where I think it was Mark Cuban. Like we talked about how, after our consumer version, we're going to in the process of making a version for hospitals, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's someone I forget, but it was like we don't. That's a horrible idea. And then the next sentence he said was like, what you should do is you should make a version for hospitals.
Yeah. And
like to have that sequence, like I remember making it like shocked face, like.
Yeah.
Didn't you just hear what I just said?
That was definitely a turning point for him. Something clicked.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, so you just they say random things sometimes to make you, make a weird face.
Yeah.
And then when they cut it up and when you rewatch it, it's like, I know I didn't make that face following that statement.
Yes. That viewing party was another stressful experience. So, outside of the meat of the questions, because I can only remember so many, I remember Robert was the first one out.
Yep.
He never gave an offer. Everyone else
gave
an offer at some point, even though it wasn't all on air. So
that's true.
So we had the lineup was Robert, Mr. Wonderful, Lori, Barbara, Mark. That was our lineup.
Yep.
Robert being kind of the first one out. Just not my thing. Not very interested. At some point in there, we referenced Staples. That might have been after Robert, or he still might have been out. But at some point, there was this moment of like, well, we have had sales.
The moment was where we said how many sales we had. Because they're like, we don't like this idea. No one's going to buy this. And then we're like, wait a minute. Actually, a ton of people have bought it.
Yep. Including a big box retailer.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay. Well, maybe this is something that we haven't.
As Mr. Warner would say, it's all about money.
Mm-hmm.
So you eventually get some interest.
Yep.
So Robert, first one out, start being some interest in sales. Probably start talking more numbers. And I don't remember if Lori was first or not, but eventually Robert comes in with a deal if we do healthcare. And behind the scenes, Mark. And behind the scenes, not on camera, Barb at some point offered to do it with him. Mr. Wonderful did his commission.
That was
deal.
On air though. Yeah, he did a commission deal first, and we
said no.
And we're like, well, and he's like, are you going to give me a deal or not? And we were like, no.
Yeah.
So I think that
so
was
you go in kind of, you got to know kind of what you want, right?
Yeah.
And so we knew the range. Obviously, you give an offer, and one of those variables can change, but not both. And so we kind of knew the offer already, and then we knew it was Lori or Mark, I think, was on our mind, but we knew we really wanted Lori, obviously. Who doesn't, right? She's the queen of sales. So eventually you get the offer from Mark, and you start thinking about it, but then Lori jumps in.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good point. Like, so before, sometimes in the show you see people like not know what they'll accept or not, and so they'll get an offer and they're like, "Oh, we got to go outside and talk about it," And we decided before, like, we don't want that to be us. So we decided like what our range was, like what we would accept and what we wouldn't. So like if we got a deal in the range that we could not have to leave and just say yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So Barbara did a deal. Made an offer, and it wasn't in the range. And then Mark made an offer that was in the range.
Well, in the range, but it was contingent, and again, we'll watch it, maybe it's different, but my memory is a contingent on doing healthcare.
Yeah.
But still, it was at that point one of the only ones really out there. So we're like, whoa, we got to get serious about this.
Yeah, I think on air it was a bigger percentage than you guys wanted.
Yeah.
It was bigger than we asked for.
Thank you for doing your research, Dallin.
Well, this is a while ago. I don't remember exactly what it was. But
yeah, no, it was bigger than it was definitely bigger than we asked for. I don't think we got what we asked for. I don't think anyone does really. Mm-hmm. Maybe some people do. But it was bigger than we asked for, but still within something that we would consider acceptable. But yeah, he wanted to change the business model. And we actually wanted to make products for healthcare too. And now we have some.
We just knew it would take time.
Yeah.
We knew it would take time. So
and that's why Lori was more the target. How do we sell right now?
Yeah. So that was good. And we were actually, I think, giving positive signals.
Yeah.
And to Mark. And then Lori said, you haven't heard my offer
That's
yet.
Right. Yes.
And then she came in with her offer. And
I don't think we even negotiated hers. She was to 10% for $300,000, which again, I think at the time was a pretty good deal for Shark Tank and for sure for our size.
That's true. I think it was a little bit, I don't think it was quite there yet.
Okay, you think there was some negotiations?
No, I think that there was one moment where, because we responded fairly quickly.
Yeah, once we knew.
Once we knew that there was more than one shark interested. Like it was Mark Cuban versus Lori is what it ended up being. Mm-hmm. And so, if you only have one person making an offer and if it's in your range, then you take it,
Yeah.
But if you have two,
you look silly.
Yeah, if you have two people interested, then you can start having them, play them off of each other. And so that's where it like turned out from the beginning, like being a really, like, we're not going to get a deal at all, to like two offers, which is like the best situation you could be in. I mean, I guess 3 or 4 would be even better, but.
All of them. A 4-chair turn. Yeah. No, because I definitely remember in the middle.
Wrong show, right?
Wrong show. In the middle, there was maybe even wrong network. I remember in the middle, there was definitely someone of like, this is just terrible.
Yes.
We were getting scorched.
Yeah.
So that was very exciting.
And that's why the turning point was like our sales numbers. And that's why if we went the year before or to the previous season, we would have done the same pitch. And they would have been like, do you have any sales? And we'd be like, oh, not yet. And they would have been like, then, it would have turned out very differently. Yeah. But the point is like, we had done our research before and we knew that there was a market for this and that people wanted this solution. And we had sold a lot, not as much as we've sold, millions and millions now. But at the time, it was a lot, I think, for them, based on the concept.
Yeah, and so you're right. I remember that now. There was some sort of an offer, but she eventually gave us kind of
Lori's
what we
like,
wanted.
I'll take this on QVC right now. We'll make millions. And we looked at Mark because he had an offer on the table, and Mark's like, you can do that, but medical's the way to go. Trust me. You make your choice.
Yeah.
And then we turned back to Lori, and I was like, Mark's deal is better.
Yeah, that's right.
If you and I didn't actually finish my sentence. I don't think. I think she was like, "I'll go down to 10 if you take my offer right now."
Yeah. And we looked at each other, looked back,
said yes, deal,
and we hugged and danced
and then
celebrated.
Dan had his little victory.
I did a little victory, woo-ha! Little kick, and she comes down.
Yep.
Right.
We give her a hug.
Shakes her hands. Gives her hugs. Sorry,
she's calling right now.
Might be her right here.
Maybe.
She's listening. She's like, that's not what happened.
Yeah. She's like, no. That's true. We are live. Lord, if you're watching. So
I don't even know. The comments might be crazy on that.
So they, they get some celebration shots and you make your way out. They film you. They want you to celebrate on the way out, which we did. And then they film you afterwards.
Oh, yeah. They take you to another area.
Before you really talk, before you talk to the shark, before anything.
In actually another building, I think. They take you to a mini set. That's the after comments, I don't
think we got any.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
Yours.
I remember saying something. I remember
you said stuff. I don't think I said anything. I think I was too shell-shocked. But Dan said something, and then that got.
It's probably like, I've been waiting for this moment my entire life.
Yeah.
And so we go back to the trailer, our famous trailer, our Star Wagon.
Star Wagon.
And
written in Star Wars font, actually.
Yeah, it is Star something. Yeah, it's kind of. And Dan, her husband, comes and talks with us. That was our first. I I'm trying to remember the first time I met Lori, but he was first. He comes in. It's okay.
Where's your due diligence packet?
Yes.
So we had to come prepared with all of our numbers. So if we did a deal, we give it to the Sharks team, and then they'd make sure that everything that we said on air was actually real.
And you know what I remember too? I think even for us, he or someone said, okay, and you need the therapist. They have a therapist there for the good and the bad.
Trauma.
Yes. No, seriously.
That's true.
Maybe we'll have to redact this once someone, watches this and tells you can't share that. But anyways, no, yeah, they're therapists, and he or someone's like, do you need one? Well, how was that? So that's how you know it's a traumatic experience.
And I think I was passed out, but Dan's like, he's fine.
Yeah, he'll be all right.
The therapist left.
But the truth is, maybe the therapist came out and was like, do you guys need me? Truth is,
he saw the color drain from my face. He's like, I'm gonna have to talk to this boy.
And it is real. I've rarely watched Shark Tank after filming, because it is kind of.
That's true. It does
get all those feels back. And I could probably do it now.
And it turned out, Shark Tank turned out really good for us. We did a deal that was really close to what we wanted. We had a great partnership with Lori that continues to this day, and we'll talk about that a different time. What happened post Shark Tank and all of that. But ended up, even though it ended really well for us, it was still was looking back, it felt fairly traumatic.
The basically last thing you find out at the set is, hey, congratulations, you filmed with the Sharks. There is no guarantee that this will air, right? It's the same story.
You got to reiterate.
So that would have been June-ish 2014, and the season starts, and I might be off, but it kind of it starts a few months after that and goes into the next year, right?
Right.
And they're like, okay, just wait and hear. So you start working through due diligence. We'd probably met Lori at that point through the due diligence, and eventually you get this phone call, and it's like, okay, you're on, and it's next week, or maybe 2 weeks away. I think we almost learn as soon as they drop that preview of the next week, right?
Yeah.
And you start getting phone calls from people who are like, I just saw you on a Shark Tank preview.
Wow.
So it's just a wild time. But they call you and they say, okay, you've got your air date. It's next week or maybe 2, but it's nowhere further than that.
But it's not guaranteed yet.
Yeah, that's right. But if something big happens, this time slot might be pushed, or there's just no guarantee. And if it gets pushed, there's no guarantee it'll even air. So every time you kind of make a step forward, there's hey, there's no guarantee until it airs.
And then it could air, and then some tragedy could happen, and take it off the air.
So it aired in January of 2015.
That's right.
And so that was more than 6 months, maybe 8 months after we actually filmed it. So
that's
throw a big launch party at our office. We were now moved out of the basement.
Yes.
And we had kind of a small front office
flex space,
to a small warehouse.
Yep.
And had friends and family over, and that was wild because you don't see it.
Yeah, we didn't know if it was going. We know that it ended up well, but we still didn't know if they were going to cut it to make us look ridiculous or not.
Yeah.
Some people that get deals they cut it to make them look pretty ridiculous. And I won't say that they didn't make me look stupid sometimes, but but in general, I was like, okay, this was good.
Yeah.
Not so bad.
That was an incredible night. Really special night. That was nearly a year in the making to get to that moment. And some's faster because they air it in the earlier part of the season. But for us, about a full year from original submission to airing.
Wow.
Yep.
And like Wes said, changed the business trajectory forever. Lori's just been phenomenal. Her whole team, love working with them. Shark Tank itself and ABC, that airtime, just so many positive things came to our business, which will be fun to talk about. QVC, Bed Bath & Beyond, branding, just a lot of really fun things. We're very lucky to have that experience, and for us, just a phenomenal experience.
Yeah. And we can't wait to hear about those stories as well. These have been really awesome stories. Shark Tank sounds like it was a fun time. But
they should invite us back for round 2.
We have done some follow-ups.
Has any company ever gone back with a new product before?
No, we should.
Yeah,
that's great. Cool. If you're listening, ABC, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
we'd love to show you.
We'll be happy to.
We'll be the first ones to do it.
Yes. Cool.
Okay. Thanks, guys.